Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Mistaken Identity podcast with Frank and David. I am recovering from day two of my vaccine. David, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Just got off work and haven't had dinner yet, but I'm ready to rock and roll.
Now, I told you that I got the vaccine and I was doing all great yesterday, but today I went to the grocery store and tried to pick up a can off the shelf with that arm and dropped it because my arm was in so much pain. um, so uh, they did warn me though that there would be some pain in the arm. I didn't feel it at all on day one,
hmm
but day two, it's not like pain that's not bearable. But I couldn't even pick up a can of I think it was peas or whatever. I couldn't even pick up a can of peas from
Is is your arm
so
swollen?
it's not at all. I mean, I wish it was. I'm so skinny that if it was swollen, it'll be some, it'll make me look like I'm swollen. So I wish it was swollen. But no, it just, I only feel it when I use it. When I'm like, well, right now, I feel no pain at all whatsoever.
Oh, you'll be fine. When do you get the when do you do the next dose?
I believe it's in 4 weeks. Now, I did hear today, though, I heard that the second dose will have more pain than the first dose.
Why?
Um, they didn't say that. It could have been just trying to scare me, which is possible.
hmm
I told somebody what happened to me today, and they're like, "Oh my God, just wait till you get the second one." I'm like, "Uh oh." So um, I don't know, but again, it's all worth it if I can go and be on a cruise, and travel
hmm
around the country. It would definitely be well worth it. Um, so before we get to our guest today, which I'm really excited about,
I am
um,
too, man. I'm kind of jacked up for this one, man.
yeah, it's good to have him on here. Actually, it's good to have all three of us talking about this kind of unique,
Yes, sir.
um, unique situation. But I had spoken to you before about the White Sox. I'm just curious today. Have I convinced you to be as into the White Sox as the Cubs, or not yet? Still not yet.
No, but I'll be following along closely. I'll check them out. I mean, I'm not rooting for anything bad to happen to them. I'm just diehard Cubs. You already know. I wish them well. I don't. I think they're gonna do great. I'm just not gonna be like one of those guys like jumping on the bandwagon. If they do great, cool. If they whatever happens, it is what it is. But I'm just gonna go with it. I told you my boy's gonna make the playoffs, so you better be ready for it.
Okay. Now, are you also? I think you already know the answer to this question, but you're a Bears fan, I'm assuming too, right?
Oh, I'm a huge Bears. I'm
All right.
diehard Bears fan. Oh,
And,
absolutely.
and we're going to bring this guest up. Now, was there some news today? Did the Bears make some kind of? Is there some news with the Bears going on this week or today? Or our guest may
Uh,
know this too, because he follows the Bears. But I
well,
may
the
have seen some news.
the one thing I saw was they franchise tagged Allen Robinson yesterday, which
Okay.
means that he can still get offers, and the Bears have the opportunity to match it. But if somebody offers
Okay.
him like something higher and the Bears don't want to pay it, they're not going to pay it. So he can still leave. And then the offensive lineman Kyle Long, he retired like I think last year. He's coming back, but he's not coming back to the Bears. So um, I wish there was news that we got Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, but that's not going to happen.
Now,
So
I did see the Russell Wilson talk everywhere, like everywhere. I saw that Russell Wilson talk. Now, why do you feel like it's not going to happen? Explain that to a Cubs only person.
well, the financial structure of Wilson's contract, the Seahawks will have to eat like at least 30 million, 30 plus million of that deal. And they're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. Even if you trade the Bears' best player, which is Khalil Mack, and give them draft picks, they're not going to do it. So I can't see it. So,
Yeah. So, and I think that the the perfect time actually to bring our guest into the room is talking about the Bears because from what I know of him, especially on his social media, I see Bears all day, every day, and maybe as much as I see the Cubs. And if you work for the Cubs, you will recognize the face, possibly the voice. You may recognize, but we want to say a big welcome to somebody who I am extremely proud to call a friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Keston Edwards to the show. Keston, what's up?
How you guys doing?
Yo, what up?
Hey man, like you start talking that Bears talk, and I get it. It's like I get happy and then I get sad. I think it's good that they're pursuing Allen Robinson and keeping him, but at the same time, the Bears still have to address the quarterback position. And I mean, until they address that quarterback position, we're going to continue to be on this emotional roller coaster that we've been on for the past 5 years in the Mitch Trubisky era.
Hey, so Keston, you heard who just got released, right?
Who's that?
Alex Smith.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Alex. I mean, he comes with a great track record, but unfortunately, he had a really devastating injury, and it's fortunate that he's been able to kind of overcome that and get back on the field. So I think it'll be interesting to see how things play out and what the Bears do at the quarterback position and how lucky they are in their pursuit of Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. I mean, if not, one of those two, I mean, Alex Smith may be, a suitable fit for, just the time being, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I can see them actually going towards Alex Smith, though. I can see that happening. I can't see the other two happening.
Yeah, absolutely. You've already mortgaged, a couple draft picks for Mr. Trubisky, and then you mortgaged a couple of draft picks for Khalil Mack, and then when you think about this is a lame duck year for Coach Nagy and Ryan Pace, in their contract. So we'll only allow them to mortgage, the next 3 to 4 years of draft picks for, next year. I'm not really sure, but the way the McCaskies have gone, they've been very loyal to their front office and coach. So I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yep.
All right, so I'm just curious, how many Bears games on average do you go to in a year, would you say?
Well, I want to say from 2015 to 2017, I actually was a season ticket holder, and which meant I went to all 10 games. You had 2 preseason games, and then you had the 8 home games. Unfortunately, they didn't do very well over the course of those 3 seasons, and I'm like, you know what? For what I'm spending for the entire 10-game packet, I can essentially kind of decide which are the premier games and pay that same amount and probably get, a better seat. So over the past 3, 4, 5 years, I would probably say you got 10, 20, 30, probably 50 games.
Yeah, that's a little bit, that's maybe 49 more than me.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of it is just the experience, right? You love your team. No matter what happens with, Bears, they have a really amazing fan base. So you get a lot of energy. We've always had a really good defense. So even when we weren't rooting for the offense, we knew that defense was going to bring it, and it gave you something to cheer about every Sunday.
Yep. But that schedule next year is brutal. So I don't know.
It is. And I mean, this year's schedule was brutal too, but the NFC West, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you got Seattle, Arizona, you got LA, and then you got San Francisco. Then, of course, you got the NFC North. I haven't really looked at all of their opponents, but just looking at that NFC West, which is solid, from top to bottom. And I think San Francisco is going to get healthy this year as well. So, I mean, once they get, a lot of their key defensive players back, and then they got Kyler Murray, and I think that they'll add some addition to not San Francisco. I'm sorry, Arizona and San Francisco. But I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think San Francisco has one of the Bosa brothers at defense. So San Francisco's still a solid team. But yeah, I mean, they got a tough schedule. So 8-8 maybe. If they bring Mitch Trubisky back, 8-8.
I can see that.
Yep. Okay. So let's go into you, the man, the legend. Grew up on the South Side, am I correct?
Correct. I grew up in Inglewood, West Inglewood, right off of 71st and Western. So 7100 South, 2400 West. That's how you know I'm from Chicago. You know, that's numbers. I don't necessarily know the street names. If you say State Street, I know, 0100 East West. So yeah, 71st and Western.
Now, me and you have talked about this privately, but the South Side, the media portrays it one way, and there is the real way. So, tell us about growing up in Inglewood, your perspective.
Well, when I grew up in Inglewood, and I don't want to tell my age, but there was racism that still existed. I went to McKay Elementary High School, which is right off of 71st and Francisco, and you still had Lithuanian Plaza over there, and it was certain routes that we had to take to school. Otherwise, we'd get it. So I mean, growing up, I think that I grew up in a all Black neighborhood, and it was a really nice neighborhood. I mean, it had a lot of great, hardworking African American individuals that really, instilled values in us. So the Inglewood that I see now, in which my grandmother still lives in, and she still lives in the house that we grew up in, it's a lot different than when I grew up there, 25, 30 years ago.
Now, David, you're what, strictly West Side, or were you ever on the South Side, David? Or were you strictly born and raised West Side?
I did South Side a couple of times. One time I was in the South Shore area, which was like 74th and Jeffrey. And then later on down the road, I did Garfield and Wabash. Are you familiar with that? Like Hyde Park area?
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. That was a rough neighborhood though. That was like, I mean, it doesn't compare to Inglewood, obviously, but over in that area, it was tough, man. It was super tough.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Austin. I went to high school, West Side.
So yeah, like before I moved to the South Side, I used to stay 158 North Central. So I know exactly where Austin is at because my auntie and my uncle, they used to live right there. I want to say it's East End or West End, but their actual building was right there in the parking lot of, it was like this parking lot they had behind Austin High School. So I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah, that's a rough area too. But it, like that 55th area, Garfield, Wabash, going back toward the other way on the other side of the expressway, it was a nightmare, man. It was tough over there.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on the South Side, but like I never really ventured east. I never really knew what was east of State Street. But I actually went to Gage Park High School, which is right off of Garfield and Rockwell, which is not too far from California. So it's 56th and Rockwell. So I'm familiar with that area. It's just when you start going past Indiana, like some people say Cottage Grove, Stony Island, I'm like, I just never really ventured out to that point.
Yeah, probably a good thing that you didn't because it was pretty rough, man. Now, did you do like any like activities when you were in high school, basketball, football, anything like that? Any sports?
Yeah, I played baseball. I played varsity baseball all 4 years at Gage Park, and then I played basketball my sophomore year. I played on the freshman sophomore team. I was more of a baseball guy. I grew up playing baseball. I probably started playing baseball when I was 6 years old, and that's how I ended up with the Cubs. I like the Cubs. My first team that I ever played on was T-ball, was the Cubs. I wore number 12 to pay homage to Sean Dunston. I played shortstop. And, as I got a little bit older and I got into high school, they realized I was really quick. So they say, we want to utilize your speed. And so we're going to put you in center field. So probably from 14 up until the time I stopped playing baseball, I moved to the outfield.
All right. So this is a question that I've been dying to ask you actually, because, there's nobody at Wrigley Field, at least, that I talk to more than I talk to you on a daily basis. There's nobody other than you. But for the first year that I knew you, you allowed me to call you Keston and never, ever, ever said, hey, Frank, my name is Keston. So let's talk about that. Why did you ever stop me and say, hey, stop calling me Keston. My name is Keston.
Sometimes when it just depends on a relationship, right? Like sometimes when I see people in passing, they may mention my name and they may say Keston, and I'm like, I'm okay with it. Like, how you doing, and just kind of wave and say bye. But, you know, as I develop relationships with people, I think I'm more triggered to kind of correct them. I mean, I was talking to a young lady in my current role that has called me Keston probably for like the past 6 months. And out of the blue, she saw that I called. She was like, hey, Keston. I was like, you know, Yvette, like, I got to be honest with you and I got to correct you, and don't take offense to it. But I've been allowing you to say this entire time, but my name is Keston. And she's like, well, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, sometimes I just go with it because, you know, sometimes people get it right, they get it wrong. Like I can be at Starbucks and, you know, I can tell them my name and they spell it out, and then the barista will see it on the actual cup, and you can see in their head they're trying to debate whether or not it's Keston or Keston. And it's just funny. But, you know, even if they say Keston, then, you know, I grab the cup and be like, thank you. But I think as I've kind of developed, you know, deeper, meaningful relationships with people, that's when I just say, hey, you know, my name's Keston, it's not Keston. I mean, I've done it, you know, in various jobs, even where I've worn a name tag and they say Keston, I just leave it.
And you know what? That I'm sorry to cut you off. That kind of like circles back to the purpose of this podcast, because I'm not sure if you heard our intro yet, but a lot of times when we're at the ballpark and I'm walking by and then somebody says, "Oh, hey, Frank," and I'm just looking, and I'm like, I usually like, at first I was always, I'm David, and then, you know, they're, oh, I'm sorry. So at some point, man, I just got to the point where I'm like, they say, "Oh, hey, Frank," I'm like, "Hey, how are you? How you doing?" And they start asking me questions about, you know, personal conversation. I'm like, I don't know. I'll talk to you in a little bit. I got to go. So it kind of circled back. I mean, I know it's like not exactly the same thing, but that's the whole reason for the podcast. Is just like mistaken identity, mispronouncing names, all that goes hand in hand. Everything.
Yeah, I mean, even now, like, you know, in my current role, and I'm dealing with students, and sometimes my initial contact with them is via email, and they'll call me and they're like, hey, Keston, and I let them know right off the bat, like, we're going to have a long-term relationship, so I got to set the tone right away and let you know my name's not Keston, it's Keston. It's just, you know, I've just always decided to just kind of figure out where I want to kind of put that energy, you know? When you're busy like me, man, like my energy is very important. My words are very important. Every word that I speak is very important because it takes a lot of energy. But that's just your answer, Frank. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't understand why you let me do it for a whole year, but that's okay. But but I will say this though, there was one time something happened. I think we were on ESPN, and they just panned over the field for whatever reason, and I got home and I had some messages from people who thought that I was on the field, like they thought that I was you on the field. And so the mistaken identity goes a long way, because there was definitely a time that somebody thought I was you on the field. I just had to laugh, so that was interesting.
Well, I mean, did they ask you if you wore contacts at that point, or were you wearing glasses?
Well, I think it was such a far away shot that, you know.
Oh, now I get it.
Yeah, they couldn't get that close to me, you know, to see who it was. But I should have went and said, "Yep, that was me. I tackled that guy. That was me." Yeah.
We'll have a off-air joke after we finish.
Now,
if you know what I mean, right?
Got you.
Yes. Now, I think I heard you brought up the Premier League earlier. Now, that is something that I knew about you, but I'm sure the average person would, for whatever reason, not know about you. So tell us about how you got into the Premier League, what it is for those that don't know what it is, and you know who you cheer for.
Oh, the Champions League. You had it close, but the Champions League. Now you're excited.
Okay.
So Champions League is it's a European tournament where you have all of these different teams across different leagues, and the top 4 teams from each league, they go into this 32 team pool where it's like a tournament where they determine who's the best team in Europe. And I mean, I've become a huge soccer fan since I want to say 2017. And actually, I never followed soccer or watched soccer ever, but I ended up taking a trip to Madrid, Spain back in 2017. And, you know, we were trying to find things to do. And like, I was on the internet and I'm like, well, it's Atletico Madrid, who's a Spaniard team. that were playing. And I'm like, let's go to this game. And I'm like, I've never been to a European soccer game. So what happened was we went to the game and we had just got off a flight. It was like a 13-hour flight. And I mean, we went to our Airbnb, changed, and went to the game. And like, when I tell you the passion and the energy that these fans possess at these games, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Like, I've never seen it. I mean, you know, soccer games are very low scoring. There's action, but there's not like a lot of goals that are scored. And you have fans that are in the stadium just jumping up and down, entire 90 minutes, just jumping up and down, jumping up and down. And I went to that and I was just like, dude, like, this is like something I've never been a part of ever in my life. And keep in mind, 2016 was lit, right, at Wrigley Field. And I'm like, I just never saw this energy. So, you know, I got back to the United States and I'm like, I want to learn more about soccer. So I had an Xbox at that time and I went out and bought, I want to say it was FIFA Soccer 18 at that point, didn't know how to play the game. And I learned the soccer rules, the regulations, all of that, learned the teams and the players by playing that game. And since then, like, soccer has been absolutely the best sport for me to watch day in and day out. I mean, I watch soccer all day, you know, because it's over in Europe. So most of their games come on right around in between 11 and 2 p.m. because they're 5-6 hours ahead of us. So it's like, I just got into it and I just love the energy and the passion that the fans give off. And for a lot of those teams and a lot of those cities, it's not like Chicago where they got the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the White Sox, the Cubs, where they can kind of pick and choose. That one soccer team is who everybody rallies around. So I think it was more the passion and the energy more than anything. And it just got me. And when people say, how did you get hooked on soccer? I'm like, it's like that person, and I hate to use this example, but it's like that person that says, you know, after that first shot of a drug or that first hit of this, like, I was hooked. I went to that game and like, I was hooked, man. And after that, I ended up going to Paris, and you saw that post today, PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, they played Barcelona. I flew all the way to Paris by myself to see PSG and Liverpool play in a Champions League game in 2018. To this day, still the greatest sports experience of my life. It's just, you have to experience it. But
wait. Time out.
Greatest, I already know you're gonna get offended. Go ahead.
Better than 2016?
Better than 2016. Absolutely.
Wow.
Like, the Champions League it's like the tournaments of tournaments. It's not like, you know, the Premier League or La Liga or, you know, League One. Like, the Champions League is like the best against the best. It's bragging rights for Europe. It's kind of like all of these different teams from different countries. It's kind of like the World Cup of Europe. So, like, the passion and energy, and then you got PSG, who's a high-profile team, and then they were playing Liverpool, who's a high-profile team out of England. It was serious.
Wow.
I can send you guys videos of the crowd and just the energy. It's just like, they are truly fanatics over there when it comes to European soccer.
So I actually discovered how passionate soccer fans were, and most folks don't know this, but I was a supervisor at Soldier Field for 2 years actually, before it just got too cold in the winter. I couldn't do it anymore. But there was a game, I think it was USA versus Mexico, and my goodness, it was bigger than anything I have ever experienced in my life. USA versus Mexico. And so at that point I realized, you know, soccer, and I honestly believe that if that stadium would have held 150,000 people, there would have been 150,000 people in that stadium. So I got my taste of soccer from Soldier Field through the Chicago Fire when they played there and through that game. But I can believe that it was bigger than 2016 just in that one experience.
I'm just saying. So MLS is different, you know, because we don't really follow soccer like that in the United States, but it's different energy. So, you know, really, when I'm not watching Champions League, which is like the European tournament, I mean, they have different leagues. I follow the Premier League, English Premier League, which is out of England. So my favorite team is Tottenham Hotspur. Really good team. But that Premier League is probably the toughest league in the world when it comes to soccer, because you got probably the league holds 20 teams, but on any given night, I mean, those 1 through 20, they're all competitive, and 20 can beat one. So I think that's why I've been drawn to soccer, because, it's not one of those, it's not like the NBA where, everybody's kind of like, loading teams with the best players. It's a total team effort. It's all about precision, timing, speed, coordination. Soccer is the ultimate team game in my opinion.
Now, I'm not even halfway near done with the list of topics that I have for you on my list, and already I hope people can see why I titled this episode "Keeping Up with Keston," because there's just a lot about you that people don't know, and they'll see why you're definitely in my inner circle. Now, one thing you brought up that me and you talk about privately, of course, is how you like to travel internationally, and you will do it by yourself. Like, you will get up, go to another country just by yourself. Don't care, don't need anybody else to go with you. I said to myself, I could never do that. I even told you I'll go with you, but I just don't see myself going to a complete foreign country where I don't know the language, I don't know anybody there, alone. But you do it. So tell me, why you like that, and where have you been?
Well, my last solo trip was 2019. I actually went to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I'm not really a beach vacation destination type of person, but when I transitioned roles and I got promoted into my new role, I was like, dude, I'm just gonna take a trip. I want to be by the water and just do something relaxing. I don't want the everyday hustle and bustle of going through all of these big cities. But prior to that, I did take that trip. I told you I went to Paris. I left Paris. I went to Munich, Germany for a couple of days. And then I left Munich, Germany and went to Milan, Italy. I think as I've gotten older, it kind of took me out of my comfort zone because, I prefer to fly. It's the best way to travel, but I hadn't always been a fan of airplanes. And I always said, like, I don't think I can do over, a 5-hour flight. But that trip, man, I mean, I was on planes for 11 hours, and I'm not the type that, sleeps on planes, because I'm always, kind of like on the fence for turbulence and things like that. But I was so exhausted that, I slept like a baby throughout all of those flights, and it just gave me this confidence. So my goal in 2022 or 2021, like, I want to get back across that water. I want to go see Tottenham play in London. I want to go see Inter Milan play in Milan, and then I want to go to Barcelona and see FC Barcelona play. So, my travel, itinerary and goals have changed. A lot of it used to be like, I just want to go see the sights and the sounds and nightlife and stuff like that. But I'm cool with just going to see a soccer game at this point and just seeing some really good, some architecture and eating some really good food at this point. But I think the primary reason that, I prefer to travel alone is because it becomes complicated when you travel with other people. You don't know their budget, you don't know their objective and things like that. So, if I stay in Paris and I want to stay in a 4 or 5-star hotel for $300 a night, that's on me. I don't have to worry about, well, can we stay at this Airbnb? Like, I just want to be comfortable, and I think that going overseas, you want to give yourself the best possible experience. And I mean, it comes at a cost. And I would never want somebody to kind of hinder me from getting the full experience I wanted out of a trip, to save a couple $100.
Yeah, that's so true, because most people can't even do a trip to Atlanta without arguing about, oh, well, I want to stay here, or I want to stay there, or I only got $50 a night and I got this and that and the other. So I totally respect that. That's very good to hear somebody say that, because it's very important when you're doing stuff like that, especially traveling internationally. You gotta be on point. Like,
You got to be safe. You got to be safe. I mean, I was in Paris, I was in Germany, and I was in Italy by myself, right? So I can't put myself in at risk type of environments and at-risk situations. Like I wouldn't stay in Airbnbs. I would only stay in hotels, and I only stayed like in the heart of the city, you know, in the city center, where like I had close proximity to my hotel, close proximity to cabs and all of the main attractions, because I knew I would be around other tourists, but I didn't necessarily want to venture out too far because, I mean, my safety could be at risk. Me being alone and, you know, an American, I don't really necessarily know, you know, how they feel about that. But I mean, it all worked out, and, you know, I'll definitely do it again once the world opens back up.
Now, you know, as you know, I have said to you that I was going to go on one of these trips with you, but the 11-hour flight thing, I think you just lost me. So I think,
Oh, you could do it. I mean, you say that now, but if you're doing something that unique, you'll do it. I
I
guarantee you would.
mean, absolutely, the juice is definitely worth the squeeze. And I think that a lot of people, you know, to restrict themselves from some of the best possible experiences just based off of fear, you know, and not being open-minded. I once said I would never do those type of flights, but you know, like I want to get back to Europe, but like sooner or later I want to go to Japan, you know, and I want to go to China. And now you're looking at 16, 20-hour flights. And you know, if you save up well enough and you can be in like first class or, you know, select class where you got the leg room, I mean, it all works out. I mean, but we can't rob ourselves of experiences just based off of not being open-minded enough. And, you know, fear is the biggest paralyzer of, you know, everything. It paralyzes everything. You know, when you get fearful and you say, I'm not going to do it, you know, I mean, you prove yourself right every time.
yeah, we're gonna have to, you know, I'm gonna have to pray on this 11-hour flight thing. But I just went to Houston for my birthday 2 months ago. 2 hours,
I saw that.
and I complained about it was too long. 2 hours. I was maybe because of the pandemic.
2 hours.
I think because of the pandemic, and I've been in the house for so long. Because before that, as you all know, I was cruising and flying all the time. I could do 4-hour flights and whatever, but the 2-hour Houston flight, and I hadn't flown in over a year or been anywhere. For some reason, I was like almost claustrophobic. I guess because I was been in my house for so long. I don't know what it was, but it just felt different. But you mentioned saving money, and I think one of the best gifts that I think I was able to give to you, that I'm excited I was able to give to you, because Lord knows you give me so many. We'll bring up fashion later on, but you're into investing now. Tell me all about that.
Well, I mean, Frank, first and foremost, I really appreciate you introducing me to that. Prior to, you know, me, you know, talking with you about investing, you know, I just focused on saving, you know, and, you know, I took a lot of pride in just having money stacked up and saying, here it is, and I'm just going to watch it grow, you know, and just getting the regular, you know, percentage yield that the banks actually provided. But, you know, going into investing and actually investing into the stock market, you know, it's been beneficial. You know, it's helped me in a couple of ways. You know, first and foremost, you know, I've really learned through investing the skill of patience, right? You know, everybody wants it very fast. And in the stock market, this isn't a get rich quick scheme, because, you know, most people that try to get rich quick, they go broke faster, right? So, you know, I've really taken my time to really identify which companies I really like. I've really done my research and, you know, try to identify like which companies are going to give me the best return on investment, not just in the next 2 weeks, the next year, but the next 5 years. And, you know, having the opportunity to, you know, kind of put that money in the stock market and just watch it, you know, grow. It's done a lot, because I tell you, watching your money go up and down as it has, especially in the past 3 weeks, it's really given me a lot of emotional intelligence in a sense, because the stock market hasn't been sunshine and rainbows, right? And anytime you can sit there and take a huge loss day in and day out, but knowing that, you know, this isn't just for today, it's for 5 or 10 years from now, I think it's really provided me with an emotional intelligence and patience that I've never ever had in my life. And I'll give Frank credit. Frank has talked me off the ledge many times where I'm like, a bad day, like, dude, I'm losing so much. He's like, Keston, 5 years from now, you'll be laughing. calling me saying, dude, aren't you happy you didn't pull out of that stock? So, kudos to Frank, man, for introducing me, to the stock market. And, I just continue to watch it. And Frank and I always, just throw ideas off of each other. But he's probably my stock market mentor at this point. So, yeah, absolutely. I think my money is safer in the stock market than anywhere else right now.
It's funny though. Like I always feel bad when you'll text me in the morning, and the most successful people that I've heard, they get up early in the morning. You text me in the morning, and you're usually excited about something, and then I'm so trained to give a moderate response that I'm like, okay, I go ahead and I respond to you, and then I realize, wait a minute, should I have been more encouraging to, like, because you'll say, oh my God, I have done so bad today. And my automatic response is when I do everybody else, oh, it's only today, who cares? And then I'm like, wait a minute, should I have been more supportive of him in this, as opposed to giving him this cut and dry to the point answer? But yes, I truly believe that every American, especially minorities, should be investing and growing money because it's so easy. But it's exciting to see you way more. You're, out of all the people that I've taught how to invest or showed how to invest, you're definitely the most successful at it. Like without, like, hands down, like definitely.
I've had some success and I've had some failures, right? Right now, we're trying to get back to the success point, right? Because it's ebbs and flows. And I think for a lot of new investors that got in right around the AMC, GME, phase, it was like, oh, this is how the stock market is, and then we had a couple of weeks, it was right after President's Day up until a couple of days ago where, it was all red. And it's like, this is the real world. So you have to ask yourself, are you in it for the long haul? And I think there's a huge difference between investing and gambling, right? You got a lot of people that are, rolling the dice, looking to hit, the big seven, and they went all in. But you got other people that, are just sitting back and, just getting through this rough patch. So again, emotional intelligence is critical when it comes to investing. And I had to learn that the hard way. And you taught me, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I would call Frank and be like, Frank, man, like pre-market, I'm down like $900. He's just like, well, the time where people, sell and make the worst decisions is between 30 and 10:30. So, and then some days I look up and I'm like, I was down 800 and now I'm up 400 or 500. So, I just continue to follow his lead. He's a great mentor. I'll give him that. So if Frank has tried to convince you to start investing, I would definitely take his advice, because I mean, it's been an amazing experience, and he's taught me the ropes.
And what's crazy is he always he was kind of pushing it on me a little bit. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. This, that, and the third. I don't really care for it. I'm not into all that. But since he told me that, I started picking up on it. I put a few investments in, nothing crazy, but yeah, he taught me a lot about stuff to look for and stuff to look after and stuff like that. So he's gotta give him props for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, don't blow your last. I always say, try to have some that you can put in there to where at least you can hold it for a year, where you don't have to take it out, because that's when you start losing money, right? And it's like you're in this stock for 6 months and then something happens and then you got to pull it out, and then 6 months later you realize you sold it at $100, but now it's worth $400. What did you just lose? And I think that's the biggest piece. You can't go into it trying to flip something right away. You have to be able to let it kind of sit and mature over time. And I text Frank one time and I'm like, dude, I got this one stock and it's moving really slow, but it's been beautiful to watch it just grow. So that's the biggest piece of advice I would give anybody, is that's starting out in investing.
Yeah, that plug power is my best friend. I love that plug power stock.
Hey, I won't say what I got it at, but I got it at a really good price, and I don't think that I'll ever lose on that stock at this point. Just looking at things and how I invest, just looking at things like, not only what's hot now, but, what are things that are going to actually change the world in the future that people aren't really thinking about. And, we got a lot of new investors just thinking about today. But, something like plug power and hydrogen and how, hydrogen may take over, for cars, as an alternative fuel in the future. It's an amazing investment. And I'm not saying that I'm telling you to buy it. All I'm saying is at the end of the day, that's just something to consider.
Yes, this is definitely not financial advice. Maybe in the future,
Exactly.
we'll do a investing, maybe I'll do an investing episode one day in the future. So, but if you think that this is all there is about Keston, wait, there's more. So not only all the great things we've already talked about, but there is something else, that you do that I will never do, and that is run. You do a lot of running, marathons, boxing. Tell us all about that.
When I just a backstory, I lived in Atlanta, Georgia from 2016 to 2013. I worked really hard, and that's actually how I got into my professional career that I'm in now. I think when I was in Atlanta, I was probably the heaviest and most unhealthiest I had been in my life. And so when I moved back to Chicago, I actually moved to the Gold Coast. And, sometimes you kind of take on, the lifestyle and the habits of the people that, you kind of live around. So, I just started networking with different individuals, and I met this one young lady, and she said she was training for the Chicago Marathon. And I'm just like, okay, so you're running? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, how long is it? And she's like, 26.2 miles. And I'm like, that can't be that. And she got offended, and she was like, all right, so I'm going to challenge you to do it in 2014. And I was like, deal. So, I live right off Oak Street Beach. Oak Street Beach is probably like two blocks away. So I just started running. I would run from Oak Street, and I would run to North Avenue. Then I ended up in Fullerton, Belmont, all the way past Wilson, to the point where I would run out the beach, and I look up and I'm like, I ran 13 miles. And, running for me was not only just for the physical exercise, it was a mental thing too, because it really challenged me physically, mentally, and, I really enjoyed it. So long story short is I ended up running the 2014 marathon, and then I went back to back, and then I ran the 2015 marathon. Two of the greatest accomplishments, the best accomplishments of my life, because I'll tell people, it takes a lot, because it's not just running. You have to change your entire lifestyle. What you eat, you got to cut out certain, you can't drink. I couldn't go out late night. There was a lot of things I couldn't do. Like, I really put my focus on running marathons, and, it was a really great experience. And then after I retired from marathon running in 2015, in 2018, 2018, that's when I picked up title boxing. It was an alternative to running, but it still gave me that cardio that I was looking for. So I didn't necessarily want to focus on, my legs, but I wanted to kind of bulk up a little bit, because running, I mean, I was skin and bones when you're running. If you look at marathon runners, they're like skin and bones. So I said, I want to bulk up a little bit. So then I started title boxing, and I've been doing it ever since. But I don't run as much as I used to. When the pandemic hit, the boxing gyms closed. So, I reverted back to running. So I think I got back up to a half marathon, about 13 miles. And then once the boxing gyms opened, I went back to title. But I actually ran 10 miles on Monday. And it was the first time I had run probably since November. And it was a nice day, and it's like riding a bike. I went out there and I ran 10 miles, and running is a sense of peace for me, and boxing is, the storm, right? You got the calm in the storm. So it's this collective balance of sometimes what I need in my life, depending on how my day went. Do I want to run? Do I want to box? So, fitness has really been a key component, both to my physical and my mental health. I will say that. And I always tell people, make sure you take care of your body. So long story short, when I moved back from Atlanta, I was probably 17, 18 pounds heavier than I am now.
I'm glad that you said that. Professional runners, they're all skin and bones. That's my new excuse now. Somebody asks me, well, I want to use that one. When somebody asks me, Frank, you're so little. Yeah, I run like Keston. So, I'm all, I'm all skin.
Yeah, but yeah, the next thing they're gonna say is, yeah, when you might run the marathon. So, are you
Gotta
training
have that
for it
hardware,
or what?
man. If you don't have that hardware,
Uh,
no, you got
yeah.
to. I tell anybody, man, you own Chicago. That's what we call it. When you run that 26.2 in Chicago, you own Chicago. So I own Chicago twice, and I'm debating on whether or not I want to do it a third time. When that time comes, but I think it'll be a good challenge. But I'm looking forward to it.
I don't like running from the bleachers to gate F or gate 3, so marathon's not gonna happen for me. But
That's a marathon within itself.
yes. All right. So, yes. Now, people have been recently. I've been on a Zoom a lot, as you know. People have been recently been able to see me in something outside of a uniform. Sweaters. One of it that you brought up, Keston, but sweaters, and I actually have clothes outside of the uniform. But when it comes to fashion, I have been sort of, leaning and stealing from you. The Lululemon and the Cole Haan. So, talk about your fashion sense, and has it changed over the years as you've gotten older, or from when you were younger?
Absolutely. When I was still at the campus level and I was working as a career services representative, a director of career services, Banana Republic was my go-to. I wore Banana Republic suits, ties, belts, everything like that. I've always been a huge fan of Cole Haan. It's just what people don't probably know about me. I don't wear the color black. I don't own many pairs of black pairs of shoes outside of, some retro Jordans, but a pair of British tan, loafers or because, or Oxfords is my go-to. So, Cole Haan has always been a brand that I've always worn shoe-wise. Probably over the past 2 or 3 years, I switched over to Lululemon. It's more of a athleisure wear, right? So, in my current role, I work from home, and even when I travel, it's more about comfort, and so I'm not necessarily required to wear suit and tie when I'm on campus visits. So Lululemon gets me through my running, it gets me through my boxing, it gets me through, my presentations when I have to be at a campus. And really what I look for, in a brand with clothes is number one, fit. Does it fit me well? Number two, comfort. Does it have that stretch that I like, just in case, I'm making movements, but also, is it sweat resistant? And one of the cool things about Lululemon is it has an anti-sweat technology, anti-stink technology, where I can go to the gym and work out in one of my shirts 3 times. And as long as I get home and hang it up, it won't smell like I've ever actually worked out in it. Probably after 3 workouts, you have to wash it at that point. But it's all about comfort, and I think that Lululemon, they actually back their brand. So if I got a pair of, pants that the seam pops out or something like that, either they'll give you a different pair or they'll actually repair it. So, it's a little on the expensive side, but you're not just paying for the actual, you're not paying for the actual, just the material, you're paying for the service and the quality that comes behind it. And, as I've gotten older, that's what I look for. I don't just look for a name.
Now, a couple of days ago, you text me some shoes that I should get, and I tried to get, and of course, my size is usually always sold out. But so do you have some shoes on right now that I would want, or what?
No, I mean, honestly, at this point, where
well, no, I mean, right now, are you wearing some shoes right now that I would buy?
No, I'm not wearing any shoes right now.
Okay. Because your shoe game on Instagram and Facebook is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean those shoes that you saw, they're actually a sneaker, and then the ones that you saw in the one picture, they're actually a boot. So they look the same, and that's what people don't understand about me. Sometimes you can see me, you'd be like, he wearing the same shirt or the same shoes, but it could be something totally different but I stick to grays, blues, oranges. I don't really like a lot of different colors. I like yellow too, but I just can't stay consistent with my color scheme. But yeah, it may look like I'm wearing the same thing over and over, but it's something totally different. I can have 6, 7 shirts the same color that look the same, but they're totally different.
Now you brought up shoes or Jordan. I think David is in that Jordan gym shoe game too. I think aren't you David?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like Jordan. I thought you liked Jordan.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this one, but I'm more of I'm a LeBron guy. I actually got a pair of LeBrons right now, so sorry. Okay. I mean, Jordans are like they keep recycling the same shoe over and over again, and then you're paying not twice, not 3 times. You're paying almost 4 times the amount at times to buy this shoe. I'm like, and it's so exclusive. So if you don't get in on that first hit, you got to go buy from a reseller, or you got to buy from some fancy website, and they charge you 10 times the amount of it. It's ridiculous. I'm like, I mean, I got some, but I'm a LeBron shoe guy, man.
That's the difference between Jordan and LeBron. 30 years from now, people won't be fighting over the LeBron.
Oh, no. That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. That's even better for me. I have it exclusively to myself. I'm good. I'm good with that.
But yeah, I don't necessarily wear a lot of gym shoes, honestly. I got a pair of walking shoes. I got a pair of running shoes. And, like once Frank got me into investing, I kind of scaled back on buying the retro Jordans. I'm like, why buy the Jordans when I can buy the Nike stock?
Yes. There you go. That's what I did.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes. Why buy
that's one thing you did teach me, and I'll give you credit for that one.
Yes. Before I bought my iPad, I bought the Apple stock. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got a piece of that too.
Yes. Yes. So you mentioned several times about your career and what you do. So let's dive into that because that's something I think is really cool. So tell us a little bit about what you do for a living.
Right now, I am I'm in the corporate career services sector of our company. Originally when I started out in the career services industry, I started out as a job developer back in Atlanta. Keep in mind, back then, when I first started, they gave me a phone book, believe it or not. I had the computer, and I would just call various employers throughout the day, cold calling, trying to create job opportunities for our students. I got really good at it, and I heard no a lot, but in that no, I always got information. And as I got better developing job orders and really creating opportunities for our students, they actually switched me into a role where I taught a career development class. So I taught a 6-week class where, the focus was on career planning, personal goal planning, how to write a resume, how to interview, how to follow up after an interview, and how to be successful on the job. I left Atlanta, and then I came back to Chicago where, I did an internship coordinating position for Le Cordon Bleu, the culinary school that was located not too far from where I'm at right now in River North. And actually after that, I did a really good heartfelt gesture where I went back to my alma mater high school, Gage Park High School, and I served as a youth job coach for almost 2 years. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, it was a blessing in disguise, because when I left Le Cordon Bleu and I went there, I actually took a $10,000 pay cut, and people are like, you crazy. And I'm like, this isn't about money for me. It's about the passion and the purpose. And I think that those students in that community right now can really use me as, this person that they can see that can make it outside this community, right? Long story short, we had a job fair at that, we had a college fair at the high school, and I ran into a director of admissions at Lincoln Tech. And, we just started talking, and he was like, dude, you'd be ideal for a director of career services at Lincoln Tech. So, we exchanged information or what have you. And I ended up getting a job as a director of career services. And that meant I managed my own career center where, I oversaw 2 career advisors. And the goal is to ensure that every student that comes through those doors meet their placement needs. And I got really good at it. And then, my senior VP and my director of partnerships contacted me about a promotion, being an account manager through our corporate office. And I've been doing that for 2 years. So my current role, I manage an advanced training program. It's called the FIT program. The FIT program is designed for students that actually go through our 12-month electrical program to go into an additional 12-week training where they're actually trained on how to repair, install, uninstall food processing machines. So my primary responsibility is to recruit students from 12 different campuses all throughout our Lincoln network, which is in Georgia, Maryland, Chicago, Indianapolis. I go all the way up to Queens, New York, all the way up to East Windsor, Connecticut, which is right outside of Hartford, and then Allentown, Pennsylvania. So my job is to recruit 15 top tier students throughout Lincoln Tech's electrical program to go into this program. And then once they finish that program, they go off into careers as service and maintenance technicians in the food processing industry. I think one of the most important pieces to this position is, Lincoln Tech, we really focus on students from, under-resourced, underserviced type of populations. So for me, that's very rewarding and very motivating to take a lot of those students out of those environments and help them build the generational wealth for their families that somebody has to at this point, right? Because you get a lot of, these students that just come from that same rat race, that same cycle. So my job is to hook them, pull them and say, hey, you're done with that. We're going to put you on a path, to not only, make a great career, but go on to a great life. So, my motto is, I'm in the business of social, and economic mobility when it comes to my students.
And one of the things that we do have in common is our love for mentoring young Black men. That's a huge passion of mine. So it just made our friendship even better when I realized that you were too, and even getting to mentor people at the ballpark, because which is not obviously part of the job, but technically,
Absolutely.
as a man, it is a part of the job. Yeah, so mentoring. Why do you like to mentor, and what do you get out of it?
Well, I think for me, I think, a lot of people think that, at face value, when I went back to my high school, I went in there at a certain time, I'm just like, guys, get to me straight. And they're like, you're a goofy, you're a lame, you're a nerd. You came from, you went to Lane Tech High School and you probably went to Harvard. And I'm like, see, at first glance, that's how I look. But I walked these same hallways you guys did. I went through the same temptations, the same type of problems and struggles that you did. So why I'm here is to help show you that there is a way out. And I don't think a lot of people know about me. I didn't come from, a Huxtable type of household, my family had issues. My mom was on public assistance, and I faced, the same struggles with certain parents being, addicted to drugs and alcohol. I've seen all of this. And I've had every reason to kind of be that statistic that people thought I was going to be at a young age. And, I just always saw myself as something greater. And I just always wanted to be able to share my stories to people and let them know that there's a way out. And, you don't have to be a reflection of the world that you see outside of your window every day. So what I try to do is I try to get them a glimpse of what could possibly be possible for them, if they really put forth the effort, and change their mindsets towards a path of success and just not, dealing with the day-to-day rat race that people consume themselves with.
That's right, because you can never judge a book by its cover. You always got to read the book. You always got to read inside of it. That's awesome.
You guys understand, I live in the Gold Coast. I'm around doctors, lawyers, nurses, business owners, and, they never see me coming. They don't know my story, and they think that I'm like them. And, maybe I'm of privilege as an African-American male, but I done been through it, man. I've seen the struggle, and, if I can share my story and help motivate others, man, this is what I've done for the past 12 years. And I think that a key component to, really finding out, what you want to do in life is you have to find your passion, but you also have to, know your purpose. So, people sometimes say you should be an entrepreneur, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, dude, I'm right where I need to be at this moment right now. And it's providing me with so much, outside of my work. And, I mean, maybe it's a higher power, but the more I do this work, the more I get out of it and the more blessed I've been, man. Like I just can't explain how blessed I am and how happy I am to do what I do every day for my students.
And before I get emails and texts from my friends when they hear this podcast, as a Lane Tech graduate myself, I just want to let you all know that he didn't say anything bad about the greatest high school in Chicago. He actually was saying what other people may say. He clearly knows that there's no better high school in Chicago than Lane.
Absolutely. And what I was trying to say is those students, when I went back to my alma mater, thought that I came from the best of the best. They said Lane Tech, they said Harvard. I mean, I used to go past Lane Tech and be jealous. Like, how are they sitting outside eating lunch on the lawn and we got to sit in the lunchroom because they won't allow us to go out based off of, around the building. So of course we wait on you guys, but it was just, how we rolled back then.
No open campus. No open campus.
No open campus. No, not on the south side. No, absolutely not.
You know what's weird about segregation and disparities in Chicago? In our lunchroom, we had a Taco Bell and a Pizza Hut in our lunchroom. Yet we still had open campus. So we could have stayed inside or the Taco Bell and the Pizza Hut took our ID and everything, and it just goes to show you. And this I'm going to get into on a whole other podcast, but the disparities within the city of Chicago between one side of town and the other is pretty well kept secret.
I mean, y'all had Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. The lunch food, we call them chokes. Like them chokes. That's what we call the lunchroom food back in the day. Chokes. You eat that pizza now, and like your chest is gonna be stopped up from all that what they call pepperoni and cheese pizza. Like, no. So you guys were blessed.
Now, and we're gonna cause some controversy with this one, but speaking of disparities, now me and you, we actually agree on this next topic, which is very controversial.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that want to hear this. We've discussed the whole Black Lives Matter thing as well, and how much some of the problem could possibly be us as well. We talk about that. That's not a popular thing to say, and I'm sure we're going to get some pushback, but it's just our opinion. But me and you have discussed some things that we could do better as people of color. It's not really all on others. There are some things that we can do better as well and not be a part of the problems.
Absolutely.
That's what we discussed. That's controversial though.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think what people don't understand about me, like I touch all different walks of life, Black, white, gay, straight, Indian, Asian. For me, it's not a matter of what your color or creed is. It's like, if you want to get to a better life and, you trust and believe in me, all things are possible. I've had the opportunity to go back into the inner cities and do some mentoring and do some volunteer work and work with people in the African-American community. And, I honestly think that, a lot of people have a lot of opinions and ideas of, what should be done, but it's better to serve than it is to give. Like me, honestly, I don't want you to give your community. I don't want you to give your opinion. I want you to go and serve your community at the end of the day. And I think a lot of times it's sit back, wait and see. It's not my job. It's the teacher's job. It's the politician's job. It's the mayor's job. When, it's the community's job. I mean, growing up, like I said, on the South Side, like, we didn't grow up in an affluent neighborhood, but that neighborhood, you had, the neighbor down the street that if he saw me doing something wrong, he was going to grab my hand and take me down to my grandma and say, hey, this kid did something wrong. And that's just how communities rally together. I just don't think that, a lot of communities nowadays, they rally together. They just wait to see who's going to come and be a savior? And, you know, that savior is you, you know, at the end of the day. I fight every day, and I'll be very candid with you guys. One of the biggest challenges I have in my role, you know, is getting students to understand that you go through this program, you're going to have to go to Indianapolis for this program, and then you're going to have to leave your home city and state to go to work. And some of the people that disapprove of them doing that are their family members and their friends, right? And that's not what we need. And I think it's that sometimes it's that crab in a barrel mentality. But, you know, I tell my senior VP all the time, I'm like, you know, I think the biggest thing for a lot of our students is the biggest struggle they're going to face once they finish this program is survivor's remorse, where they're going to feel bad for making it out of New Jersey and making it out of Baltimore or making it out of Queens, New York. And their friends and their families are going to frown upon them and make them feel guilty for getting out of the same cycle that no one has ever been able to do in their family. So I think that, you know, positive energy, more action, more serving and less giving opinions will resolve some of those problems. But, you know, on the topic of Black Lives Matter, I just think that, you know, this has to be in all, you know, facets. It can't just be, you know, black shoot white. It has to be black shoot black. It has to, you know, go into a lot of different things. I mean, you got how many kids got killed in Chicago? I want to say last year it was like 10 kids got killed, you know, over the course of like a 2-week span. And it was just like, they wilding out in Chicago, like that's Chicago being Chicago. But, you know, if something happens with Laquan McDonald like it did, it's like, well, that's the police and they need to know better. We have to hold everybody to the same level of accountability. And I think that that's the biggest issue. But, you know, I'm an advocate for Black people. I'm a Black man. I support all my Black men, and I try to strive to help Black men get to where they need to be. But at the end of the day, you know, I can't do it alone. You know, some of those teachers can't do it alone. It has to be a full court press, everybody, all hands on deck effort for this issue to be resolved.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Man. It's like we can't keep blaming other people for our mistakes. It starts with us, like you said. It's like back in the day, it was all about community, like you said, like the neighbor down the street. And even take it a step further, he probably would wait a couple of days before he even told your parents, and they still would get on you. It didn't matter. Nowadays, it's like they focus on the negativity, and it's like we got to push that back the other way. The meter needs to go back the other way now. It's too much going on.
Yeah, I mean, we just live in a different age. You know, it's comes down to values, man. You know, when I grew up, it was, you know, hard work, accountability, respect, you know, integrity. You know, it was all of those different things. You know, now it's just, you know, a lot of times who can flex, who can show off, who can do this for the gram and everything like that. And I just think that, you know, social media just fuels people to continue to, you know, promote that level of negativity. And, you know, it's unfortunate. But, you know, for me, you know, I'll just continue to do the best I can, and through my work and through my volunteer work and through my mentorship to, you know, to kind of spread the word. But, you know, I'm spread thin, right? So, you know, at some point, you know, if you want it, you want it. If you don't, like at some point, you know, I can't spend a lot of energy on those that, you know, don't necessarily want it. I got to really put my energy and focus on those that, you know, really want to make it happen. And, you know, I see a lot of good things, you know, and like I said, I'll just continue to do what I can, you know, and I'm not a finger pointer. I've never been a person that says, you know, they should do this, they should do that. You know, I always say, you got to start with you. You got to start with you, right? Start with the thumb and not with the index finger, right? You got to look up at yourself and say, am I doing my part? And most people don't want to do that.
All right. So now this next topic I'm going to touch on is going to have people that think they know you calling you a baller after this next topic here. Now,
okay,
those of you that are watching the video version of this, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or what have you, you can see, you've been seeing in the background of, you know, of Keston's video, that Chicago skyline. So clearly, He is not in Inglewood on this phone call, and I'm jealous because before he moved to where he was at here, he was living right by Jason Heyward. So I was really go ahead, Keith, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, actually, I live closer now.
Oh my God! See, yeah. So, but yes, you talk about jealous of your friend. Oh my God! So, you just moved into this new place. Of course, me and you love to eat.
Right.
And we are going to get back to that once all this virus situation is over. But tell us about living downtown. There was some social unrest at one point, but tell us about that Gold Coast experience that a lot of us don't experience.
Well, I think one of the things that I have to say about the Gold Coast first and foremost is we get a bad reputation. Like when I say I live in the Gold Coast first, oh, you fancy. It's not necessarily that. I think, when you get to a certain place in life, you want to be safe, right? Your time means more than anything. So the Gold Coast has everything I need personally, 5 minutes away. I got a good steakhouse downstairs. I got Lululemon that's a block away. I got the Magnificent Mile, which is 2 blocks away. I'm a runner, which means Oak Street Beach and the Lake Path is 3 blocks away. So for me, it's more of, safety and convenience more than anything. And this has always been a childhood dream of mine, growing up on the South Side, taking field trips downtown and things like that. You see these buildings, you see what people are driving, you see how they're dressed, and, you say one day, like, I want to be a part of this. And, I think that most people, they have an idea of what they want, but they don't know necessarily what it looks like. I had a discussion with somebody the other day, and they're like, well, I just want to get this money. What does that look like? Well, I just want to be rich. Then what? So I've always had this vision of, I come downtown, I say, I want to have a nice view of the city. I want to be close to the lake. I want to have everything right around me because it takes away a lot of risk for me. Like I used to be a party boy, right? And I lived in the suburbs, and I used to drive down to the Gold Coast and party, right? Where's the risk? Drinking and driving, right? How do we take away that risk? We take away that risk by moving into an area where you can, walk your drunk self home, or you can take a cab and, everybody gets home and safe and they're still alive. So a lot of it for me was more of fulfilling the childhood dream. Like I worked hard for this, and, I've had to work 2 jobs, a full-time job and a part-time job in order to get here. So, I don't own a car no more. That saves me money, right? And, I talk to my grandmother all the time, and she's like, how much money do you pay for rent? And I'm like, this, and she like, that's too much. And I'm like, keep in mind, I don't own a car, right? That's saving me $300-400 a month. I don't have car insurance. That saved me an extra $125 a month. The only thing I pay is electricity, which means I don't have a gas bill. I don't have a cable bill. I don't have, a water bill. So somebody can pay $1,300 a month for an apartment, but by the time you have a car note, you got to pay for gas every month and all of that. It can exceed what I pay every month living down here. So financially for me, it's a better deal for me. And, the fact that, I work from home, I don't have to worry about commute either. So those are all contributing factors to my decision to move down here over the past couple of years. I mean, I've been in the Gold Coast, 8 years now. So, it's fun, and it's networking. And, keep in mind, my entire social network has changed where, I'm not hanging out with certain people anymore. Now, everybody I hang out with, they have something to lose just like me. So I'm around people that are working hard, they're into fitness, they're into finance. The majority of my friends are real estate investors and entrepreneurs. So, and they're smarter than me. So like my network's changed. And, honestly, and it's nothing to say about anybody that lives on the South Side, would I have the same network and would I have the same lifestyle based upon, the geographical location that I lived in? Probably not. Then it goes back to what I said. I didn't ever become a runner if I didn't live down here and really start tapping into my network. And they say, you should start doing this.
Well, wait, let me jump in real quick, because the people that you hang out with are not smarter than you. You're just on a different projected path. And it's coming. It's coming.
I tell you, my buddies Ty, Kevin, Charles, they like, dude, you need to get into this real estate game. And I'm like, on a part-time level, yes. But as a full-time level, like I love what I do too much, man. This is my purpose. This is, what I feel like I'm here for. So if I can do it on a part-time level, get a couple properties and, collect that and make a profit, great. But to go full scale from what I'm doing, like, I'll miss what I do so much.
And I see you every once in a while in your kitchen cooking up some steak or some salmon. Is that from grandma's teaching or trial and error like me?
No, man, y'all don't understand. I grew up with my grandparents. It was all about the pig feet, pig ears, pig
Yes.
chitlins and stuff like that.
Chitlin, yes.
Oh God, here we go. Not again.
And the true story about me is when I turned 13, I went to work at this Mexican restaurant right down the street. And I told him like I'll clean this, I'll clean this lot, I'll cut your grass for food, but like I just can't keep eating pork. So like I don't eat as much pork as I used to. When I cook, it's mostly whole fish like red snapper, salmon, sea bass, and things like that. Just broccoli and some asparagus and things. But I got a patio now, so the goal is once it warms up to actually get me a grill and start grilling some ribs and some chicken and stuff like that. But I've always been a single guy living down here, so it's expensive to dine out, but at the same time, it's a balance for me. So sometimes I like to, bake a piece of salmon after a good workout, but sometimes I want to walk across the street to Gibson's and, get a burger.
Okay. And last but not least, so how did, and because people ask me this all the time, because they just don't believe that Black people like baseball, but how in the world did you end up becoming a fan of the Chicago Cubs?
Well, it goes back, and I said this originally. I grew up on the South Side, and it's funny. It's funny because my grandfather actually did he did the exact same job I did for the Cubs, for the White Sox. So I grew up watching the White Sox. However, like I said, I grew up 158 North Central, right? And my mom still lived over there. She was a fan of the Cubs. I've never really been a fan of the color black, period. So I kind of drew myself to the Chicago Cubs because they wore blue. And so when my grandfather started teaching me how to play baseball, Mr. Crawford, who was my T-ball coach at the time, he had a team called the Cubs. And I was like, sign me up. I want to wear number 12. I want to be shortstop, just like Sean Dunston. Back then they had Sean Dunston, Mark Grace, who else? Ryan Sandberg. So I always liked the Cubs. And I mean, that's how I got into baseball. And it's like, it's so amazing how I ended up at Wrigley Field because, I mean, I'm not the biggest guy, I'm not the tallest guy. And, I probably would have never made it to the major leagues with my size and stature. But, playing baseball after high school, I kind of lost interest, and just ventured out into some other, career paths. But, baseball had always remained my interest. And that's how I ended up with the Chicago Cubs. So although I never made it to the major leagues, as you know, Frank, and probably you know, David, I was as close to the game as you could possibly be on any given night at Wrigley Field. And I think that, that's what people have to learn. You may not be able to fulfill your dream directly, but there's other avenues in which you can take in order to really fulfill that dream and fulfill that goal. I mean, it was an amazing experience working at Wrigley Field, man. Like, I can't tell you the stories that I have and all of the safe keeps. And I'm just like, I never made it as a player, but when I tell you on any given night, I was a part of the game, it's amazing. And it's a dream come true. So, for me, it's just, that's how I got into baseball. It started with, going to Sox games with my grandfather because he was a security ambassador. He would take us downstairs. We'd watch Carlton Fisk and Harold Baines do batting practice. And, a lot of my life it's just come full circle because my grandfather did what I did at the Cubs. I went to a high school, came back and worked at a high school, had the opportunity to do some of my greatest partying in the Gold Coast. And I was able to come back and live in the Gold Coast. It's just been amazing. That's the best way I can put it.
All right, so we are headed out of here. This has been an amazing session. Of course, you're my friends. I've already known you already, but we're way over time. Thank you very much, Keston, David. I'll catch you all on the next episode of Mistaken Identity.
Yes, sir.
Adios, everybody.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure having me.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.